Hello, everyone. Good morning if it's morning for you. Good evening if it's not. Um, my name's Daniel Turner. I'm the founder and director of Quirkos. And we've set up this live webinar today to show you some of the features in Quirkos, and especially the new Quirkos Cloud with live collaboration features. So that's what I'm going to show you today. The best place to get started is always our website. So if you go to www.quirkos.com, you'll find our website, and that's got all the information you need, and without any restriction or any registration, you can download a free trial and try this out for yourself. If you want to try the Quirkos Cloud version, you do need to create an account so you can log in, but that also means that then any computer where you download and install Quirkos, you can log in and access your data, and that's one of the best things about the cloud storage. We still have our offline storage option, and it's exactly the same piece of software. So you just download for the offline and the online version, and you've just got this choice when you start it up, whether you want to log into your cloud account or continue with local storage. So what I'm going to do today is show you some of especially the collaboration features in Quirkos Cloud. So I'm going to log straight into the account here. So I'm going to put in my email address and password. Remember it. And there we go. Right, so we've logged into my account, and this shows us all the projects that I've recently been working on Quirkos in my and are still available in the cloud source. And you can also see there's a list down the bottom here, shared with me. So these are projects which I didn't create, but someone else did, and they've shared with me to collaborate on. So I can just double click and open these projects, and I can be editing and working on them in real time with another person or on my own, however we like to be working. The Manage Accounts button here will go to the Accounts page. That's where you log into Quirkos and you set up all the details of the subscription of your account. Let me try and type that properly. And also all the projects that you have. And this is where you can manage the shares of them. So if we have a look at the breakfast project here, there's a share button here. I can click on that, and then I can just add in the email address of somebody that I want to share. So just click share with, and then add another one. No user found that email address. So they have to have an active subscription. You need to know their email address, but then you can just choose to share that project with them. I've shared it with the support email account. You've also got the options here for read or write access. So you can make someone able to view the project, but not actually to edit any of it. And you can also obviously remove people from the share just by clicking with that. And now the button is grayed out and it shows that nobody is sharing this project. I'm getting a bit of my head of myself here. So let's go back to the main view and let's create a new project. So with this button on the bottom right, I'm going to click on the new project, create a new project that's stored in the cloud. So I need to give it a name. We're going to call this smartphone project. You'll see why in a minute. There's the option to password protect the project. That means that it's not only end-to-end encrypted, but encrypted on our servers as well, and that there's absolutely no way that anybody can access any of the data. So if you've got confidentiality requirements, then you need to do that. We don't have a backdoor. We don't have any way to access your data, so don't forget your password. The new project button there. Right, so now this has created a new project in the cloud, and we're here in the normal Quirkos interface. So it's split in two, basically. We've got this column on the left which contains our codes, themes, or quirks, whatever you want to call them, and these sources on the right which have the sources of text that we're bringing in. So Quirkos only works with text data at the moment. So you'll see at the very top there's a little bar saying click to add source. Since our project is empty, it's quite keen for us to put something in there. So I'm going to click on the plus button at the very top right of the project there. And I've got a couple of options. So I can create a blank source, which I can write straight into. I can select files. I can paste from the clipboard. I can bring in spreadsheet data from CSV file or an online survey platform like SurveyMonkey or something like that, or a whole folder at once. So I'm just going to choose select files here. And I'm actually going to go to documents and smartphone projects. This is one of our example projects which you can download actually from our website. These are people talking about smartphone addiction in children and how that affects dinner times and social interaction in the home. This is quite an interesting project. So we've got 3 made-up transcripts with different family members, and we've also got a PDF, which is a article. So that's one of the things that I always like to show. Let's bring all of those in with the open button, so we can bring in text files, Word files, rich text files, PDFs, as well as CSV files. 4 sources have been brought in. So, actually, it's come up first with the smartphone article. So this is actually a peer-reviewed published article, and we've brought in the PDF of this. So just to show that you can use Quirkos for literature reviews, you can bring in all of your textbook chapters and PDFs of articles, whatever you're using, and you can use Quirkos to kind of explore the differences between it. So what different authors are saying about different things and how the literature is changing over time. I always like to bring in my literature as well as my sources. So in this case, these are interviews, but they might be focus groups or policy analysis or social media analysis or something like that, because then I can code across them. So I can look to see, for example, how people are talking about family in the published article and whether that's kind of chiming with what's happening in my own research, my own findings. So you'll see at the top here, I've got these tabs. These tabs are just like the tabs in your browser, and they let you pop through the different sources that you have in here. So we've got here an interview with Simon. That's the child in the family. We've got one with Chris. And this little button here on the left, that's the list of all the sources that we have in projects. So we'll see there's one from Lynn as well. And that's actually a little source there that we need to code as well. Now, before I go too much further, I'm actually just going to change the text size here so you can read this a little better. I'm clicking on Settings, Project Preferences, and I'm just going to increase the preview text width there. Great. So the first thing I'm going to do is describe these sources a little bit. So now we've brought them into the project. We're going to click here on the tab on the right, and this tab is for the source properties. And the source properties are the attributes, characteristics, or metadata that you have about each of your sources. So, for example, if you're doing a literature review, these may be things like the title, the year, the journal, the page number, but with the sources that you have from participants, so interviews or focus groups, these may be demographic information, and that's what I'm going to do here. So, for example, Lynn, we're going to put in a plus button, we're going to say age, I'm going to say that she's 37. So we've created a property called age, which applies across all the sources, and a value for that property which just applies to Lynn's source, and that's that she's 37. I'll click on this button again, and we're going to do we're going to call it family role. It's not a very good title, and she's the mother in the project. We'll see why that's important in a minute. So that's the sources that we've put in, the source properties that we've put in for Lynn. Now let's click on Simon's tab up here. Now, if I remember right, yeah, Simon is the child of the project. So we're going to give him an age of, I think he's 14. And his family role is, he's the son. And so now you can see that we've categorized these properties, we've categorized these sources in different ways using the properties. And we'll see in a minute why that's very helpful. Now, again, we've got this smartphone article here. From a published PDF. Now, this is not, the age and family role doesn't apply here, so we don't have to assign anything to those, but we can put in other things like journal. This comes from TQR, and we can put in the year, I think it's 2018 if I remember rightly. But again, so you can categorize and source. So in the future, you could see just results from a particular year, or from a particular journal, and see how the literature was changing over time, for example. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the tab back here to go back to the text. And actually, I'm going to start by coding Lynn. So that's the mother's source. So you see now that we've gone back to the text. So this is a very short kind of snippet of an interview that we have to play with. And I'm going to create a new code by pressing on the plus button here. And I'm going to call this parenting. Yellow is fine. And that's created a new bubble with a random color and a random place. So I can click and drag to move that wherever I want, and I can start sorting out my codes. So I feel my life with cell phones has made my job as a parent much harder. Right. So that's kind of about parenting. So I'm going to click and drag to select that first sentence, drag and drop it onto the parenting bubble, and now that's been coded to it. So there's a color-coded stripe next to it, and if I hover the mouse over it, it says parenting. Such a waste of energy because we fight about it and he's angry with me all day, so we don't get any good time together even when he gets off the stupid phone. So that's kind of about parenting as well, so I'm going to put that on there. And you can see that the bubbles grow the more you add to each of the sources. But I think this is about something else as well. I think it's a kind of about conflict or fighting or angry. So I'm going to drag and drop this text straight onto the plus button, sorry. And that will create a new bubble, which we'll call conflict, I suppose. I don't think green is an appropriate color, so we'll choose a red. And now that's automatically added that to conflict. So you can see that this piece of text has been coded to be about two things. So it's about parenting, but it's also about conflict. And coding in this way, you don't have to code in this way, but it does allow you to kind of see the connections between the codes a little more. Now, of course, there's I can keep creating lots of different things. So we'll create one for dinner time. This whole paragraph is about dinner time, so I'll put that onto the dinner time bubble. So you can keep creating your themes and you can keep going. I'm going to create another code now to show some of the subcategories. And we'll have table manners. And I'm going to create that as a subcategory of dinner time because really that only really applies at dinner. So I can just drag and drop that bubble onto the dinner time bubble and that shows me table manners. So I can say that I've had to confiscate them. Yeah, I've had to confiscate phones from our children so they actually eat and engage with the family a little. Before they sit down at the table, I take them all away from the table and put them on the counter. Okay, that's kind of about table manners. So I'll put that on first table time, dinner time, and it pops out to table manners. So now you can see we've got these subcategories here. We can keep having other ones as well. So time pressure. What else might we have? Washing up. It's going to do the washing up. And so we can keep creating lots and lots of subcategories here. You also create subcategories. So this is one way to code. It's not the only way to code. So we can also do things like in vivo coding or line-by-line coding. It's often a kind of first stage in doing a lot of, how can I say, like grounded theory type approaches, or before you start doing kind of, this is open coding before you do axial coding. And we've got a memo feature here, which kind of makes that quite easy. So here, for example, let's do some in vivo coding. So such a waste of energy because we fight about it. So I'd say that's a waste of energy. So waste of energy. Stupid phone. That's another good one. So we're creating little kind of tags here, and these could be your comments as well. So I'm not sure what this means. So I'm going to go back and look at that. So you can delete these just by right-clicking on them to remove the memo, and these will appear anywhere where the quotes come up. But it means that you can start this kind of in vivo process. So you might go through and code line by line first, and then start coding this. So stupid phone, I might actually, so I can click on that memo, and I can actually code that section of text as well later on if I want to do that at the kind of axial stage. So I might have created, what can I call this? Negative feelings. And that might belong in that category as well. This section might belong on there as well. So we keep going through and coding. We'd also do coding obviously with other people's sources. So so this person's talking about what games they play. So we'll create a new theme called games. That will make that green. Playing games on the phone. And this person talking about using the phone for talking to people, communicating. So we're going through and basically doing some kind of descriptive analysis here. So now you see we've got quite a few codes here. We've coded to a couple of sources. there may be some simple things that we want to do just with a text search. So I can click on the text search button here. That's that little magnifying glass. And let's search for the phrase dinner. Because I suspect... Okay, right, so this is interesting. So this is coming up in some quotes from the actual article as well. So this is great. I want to code this from the published literature into our dinner time theme. And that way I can start to compare what's being said in the literature to what my own themes are. So I'm just using these ... buttons to load more of the source so I can see the whole sentence. One parent stated, never really intrudes on my family life. Had to put the kibosh on at the dinner table. Perfect. So this is really interesting. So just been coding straight from the search results. Close the search bar there and go back to the main results. So now if I double click on the dinner time bubble, what this does is show me all the subcategories listed under here, but also everything we've coded to dinner time. And to dinner time we've coded this extract from Lynn's source. She'd had to confiscate the phones. And this person also says that they have no phones at the dinner table. This is from the smartphone article. So what we can see straight away is that our sources of data are really connecting with what's said in the literature as well. So that's already a really interesting observation. If we want to get these quotes out of Quirkos and start writing up, for example, if we're writing a section about dinner time, we might select all of these, click on the copy button, and then if I start Word, I can just copy and paste those straight in. So create blank document, paste those in, there. We've got all of these quotes from Lynn, smartphone article, which are about dinner time. So that's super handy. So I'm going to click on, and you can see we've got the memos here. So if we open the memo column, we've got the memo assigned, not sure what that means, to that selection of text. So I'm going to click on the home button here to go back to the main view. Now I'm going to very quickly show you some other things, but then we're going to look at the collaboration features. So remember we did all that time looking at the source properties. Well, let's use those now. So we've defined the sources in different ways. Let's see if we can do a little bit of subset analysis using those. Now you'll see at the top there's a query button here. So I'm going to click on that. Okay, and I've straight away got, let's not have age, let's have family role. And let's see what the mother is saying. So the mother is saying, we've coded 2 negative feelings, 2 things about parenting. If we click there, we can see that section of text. So we can run a search for any of the properties, but also the different work that different people have done on the project. That's going to be interesting in a minute. When work was done, we can search by group or the title of the source. We can also split the screen in half and do a side-by-side comparison. So for example, let's look at the family role, what the mother is saying to what the son is saying. And okay, there's a difference. So the son is not saying anything about parenting. It's not surprising. They are talking about games and communicating on their phone, and that's not something which the mother has talked about at all. So again, we're starting to see, even with this very small data set, the differences in the different things that people are talking about in the way that we've coded them. So I'm going to click on the home button to go back to the main view here. And let's look at some of the ways that we can start collaborating on this project now. So maybe we've got someone else that we want to do coding with the same coding framework. Maybe we want to compare their own kind of grounded theory approach to it. Maybe we want them to bring in different sources and code those particular sources. So all I have to do here is, so if I go to manage projects here, that will basically pop up the web browser. And that shows a list of all the projects that I have. If you've not logged in, it will ask you to log in first. And so here's the smartphone project. And I can see that's the project I've been working on right now. I can click on share, choose to share it with, well, we'll choose it with the support email address again. Oops, let's type that correctly. And as long as that person has an active subscription, then you'll be able to share the project with them. And then they can, if you give them write access, they can do anything that you can on the project. So they'll see that in their list of shared projects. You go to project and shared with me, that'll appear there now. It's my project, so that doesn't really matter. and they'll be able to work in real time, and you'll see all the changes they make. So if they start dragging around, if they start doing coding, it's going to appear live. There's no limit to the number of people that can collaborate on a project at the same time. There's also no limit to the number of projects that you can collaborate on. And we don't charge anything for the collaboration feature. As long as you have a subscription to Quirkos Cloud, you can use it. So you'll also see at the very bottom left here, there's a little chat icon. Now this turns orange when someone else is logged into the project at the same time as you. And if you click on it, you can write little notes. So you can say hello, and then the other person will see that pop up in real time. You can change the width of this and so on, and you can toggle it like this. And there's a really good way to discuss things which are coming out in the project, ask questions about how to apply the coding framework, for example. But even if you're just working on your own in a project, even in offline mode, the chat's still there. And you can use this kind of like as a research journal. So you can keep saying, I've just started coding, looks a bit daunting. And then you can write more. We could say, not sure that conflict is the right name for this theme. And then we can kind of, everything has got a date timestamp, it appears in chronological order. You can remove things if you want as well, but it just means that you can keep a log which is saved, so it's always there in the project, even after you close it and log off, of everything in your project that you're looking at. So that's the basics of the chat and the collaboration. It's very easy to use, and it works in exactly the same way if you're working on your own, or if you've got a dozen people collaborating on the project together. They don't have to be in the same place. You can work remotely, and basically anywhere with an internet connection. And that data is securely encrypted and stored on our cloud servers, so meets all the correct data protection requirements that you might need to apply to. So let me show you just as a final thing here, and then I'll go and see if there's any questions from people watching. I'm just very quickly going to show you some of the export options which are in Quirkos. So we have a report that you can generate, and that shows you all the kind of detail of everything that's been done in the project, but you can also see who's done what piece of work. There's basically a preview on the left side of the screen which shows you how the report will look, and on the right a series of options for which sections you want. So I've got a summary of all the different sources in the project here. So we've got Chris, Lynn, Simon, those are the sources. I don't need to see that, so I can untick that section and get rid of it. And if you scroll down, you'll see you've got all these different options. You've got graphs of the source properties, so the age and year of different people. We've got these views here of the canvas, so where we've put all the quirks. And we've also got here the actual text. So we've got the text sorted by the theme. So this is everything we've coded to the parenting theme. Everything we've got from conflict and dinner time, etc. And we can also change that, so if we want to see everything a particular person said, everything by source. So now we've got everything that we've coded to from Lynn's source, and we can customize that so we can see all the properties, etc. So this is a quote from someone who's 37, a mother, etc., etc. And when you've got it looking exactly the way you want, you can save it as a Word file, you can save it as a PDF file. So we'll call this smartphone PDF. And there we've got the PDF of our project, everything on a different page. And we can print that out here as well. So that's the report. We can also do a word cloud. This might be interesting, seeing what kind of themes are appearing here. Yep, smartphone, use, technology, parents, family. And you can remove things from this as well. So there's a built-in list of stop words, but let's put in use. That's kind of silly. We can get rid of that. And then when it's customized, you can actually just right-click to copy the image, or you can save it as a file to put into Word or PowerPoint, wherever you need it to go. We've also got a spreadsheet export here, so that allows you to bring the coded data, so extracts, codes, sources, highlights, everything as spreadsheet files that you can open in Excel, SPSS or R, and that could be useful if you want to summarize it in a kind of table format, you want to do table-based coding, or if you want to do something like some more kind of quantitative statistical analysis. You can also export the sources as different Word documents. So we call this smartphone export, and this basically gives us the transcripts back out. Review, show markup, all markup. Is that right? Yeah, here we go. And basically this just uses the comments feature in Word to show the color-coded highlights of how we've assigned the text. So you can share this with anyone that can open a Word document basically, or you can print it out and look at your coded transcripts away from it. And you'll always see who did this and when, and what connection and theme that belongs to. So that's kind of useful. Don't need to save that one. You've also got the REFI, the REFI QDA standard. So this is a standard data format for all qualitative software packages. So all of them now support import and export in that standard. So if you've got a project that you've done in another software, like in Vivo, Max QDA or Atlas TI or something like that, you can bring that into Quirkos, and you can also export your projects from Quirkos and bring those into other packages. So if there's particular features you need to use from another software package, you can do that. And it means you also never get stuck anymore with your data being locked into your project. Now, the Quirkos Cloud subscription is a very flexible option, but we also still have the offline version as well, which is just a single static fee. You'll be able to manage all the aspects of your project and your account yourself. So you can change your password here, shows you your type of subscription, billing information, and etc., credit card details. And then you've got all these options to work with your projects. And even when your subscription expires, so if you choose to cancel your subscription, you'll still be able to access your account like this unless you request for it to be deleted, and for up to a year after you've stopped paying. So that means you can still download your projects, so you've still got read access to them. You can share them with other people who have Quirkos, so you're not locked out from your data, but you will need to reactivate your subscription if you want to start collaborating or editing those projects again. So if you go onto our website, you'll see a lot more information about the Quirkos Cloud. You'll also see options here for the subscription fees and also the offline static license fee. And it's a very easy way for you to analyze and explore your qualitative data, especially as part of a team. There's a free trial for 14 days. It's completely unrestricted, so there's no limit on the number of projects you can create or anything like that. It's the full version of the software, so try before you buy and see how that works out for you. So that's pretty much most of what I was going to cover today. I hope that was helpful and showed you your way around Quirkos a little bit. There's a lot more information, a lot more video tutorials on our YouTube channel now as well, so do have a look at those. I'm just going to see if there's any questions or anything in particular that anybody wants me to cover, but if not, then that will conclude the session for the day. It's been a neat half an hour. So it doesn't look like we have any questions. So thanks so much for coming along today. It's been wonderful to have the opportunity to show you Quirkos, albeit very quickly, and how you can use it with live collaboration in teams. Do go on our website. All our support materials, all our training resources are free. You don't have to register to access them. So you should be able to learn Quirkos from scratch in a lot more detail than I've gone over today, without having to register or pay a penny. So thanks for coming along today, and we'll speak to you all very soon.